Don't get me wrong, I love my lash extensions, but it's something about a lashless beat that just does it for me. It's like ever since I got my haircut, I have not blinked at a lash cluster, a lash extension, or a wig. And granted, I still love those things, but I just fell in love with me more. I'm starting off on a wash face, and I am now going in with my moisturizer. I would say the name of this moisturizer, but they allegedly still animal test, so no thank you. I'm just finishing out my bottle before I order more. It doesn't matter what makeup look I'm doing, I always start with my brows before I apply any type of makeup to the rest of my face. And I haven't gotten to using the traditional eyebrow pencil, with the underlining the eyebrow, overlining the top, shading it in. I haven't gotten behind that. I love this felt tip pen that I got from TikTok shop. And as I mentioned in my last makeup tutorial, all I'm doing is literally drawing hair-like strokes, aka little lines in the direction that my brow hairs grow. I was gonna go ahead and carve out my eyebrows, but I forgot I didn't use makeup primer. For my first primer, I'm going in with the One Size Secure the Blur primer, and I'm using that all over my face, but avoiding directly underneath my under eye, 'cause I don't want too much product there before I apply my concealer. And since I have oily skin, I'm going to go in with the One Size Oil Sucker Mattifying Primer. When I tell you this is my holy grail, I have to use it every time I do my makeup, especially if I'm going out in the Florida heat. Now, do you need as much as I put on my face? Absolutely not. A little goes a long way, but lately I've been liking for my entire face to be matte, not just my T-zone. And again, I'm avoiding directly underneath my eye, especially with this primer, because it's sucking out all the oil and moisture from the skin. The last thing you want is for this to be underneath your eye. You apply that concealer and it starts cracking and creasing. And with this primer, don't rub it in too harshly. I would say rub it in until it's dry, or tap it until it's dry, or it will start turning white. Now we are on to carving out the brows. I'm using the Anastasia Magic Touch Concealer in the shade 13. And since I'm staying at my auntie's house for the weekend, I forgot my freaking concealer brush, so I had to do what I had to do and use the end of my rat silicone. Was it difficult at first? No. Was it uncomfortable and different? Absolutely, but it got the job done. Like, you really cannot tell me a thing. Who do you know is carving their eyebrows out with a rat tail comb? Please. Now for the top of your eyebrow, I always recommend going with your foundation or a concealer that's the same shade as your foundation shade. Only reason I say this is because underneath your brow bone is naturally lighter. And the last thing you want is for the top of your brow to be super light as well, giving you halo brow, if that makes sense. Brows and forehead is checked off. Now we are moving down to the rest of my face. I will forever love the underpainting technique when I tell you it gets my makeup done in 45 minutes or less. Of course, filming slows me down a minute, but on a regular day, I can knock my makeup out in 30 minutes if I really try. And all I'm doing is applying this cream bronzer from Juvia's Place in the places that I would contour, because I personally don't like to use contour. I like a cream bronzer because it's more warm tone. Tapping it on my cheekbones and along my jawline. Taking that same cream bronzer from Juvia's Place, and now I'm going to go ahead and contour my nose. How you contour your nose solely depends on your face shape, your nose shape, and the results you want to achieve. And is it really my makeup if I don't go in with liquid blush? Come on now. And I love doing my makeup when I don't have a wig on, because I have so much more room on the sides of my face to work with blush and concealer. So this go around, I'm more so focusing that blush on the outer parts of my under eye and slightly up to the areas of my temples, but you'll see that more once I'm going in with powder blush. And I did blend the excess underneath my eye, because I do want a subtle pink under eye. As I told you, I love my concealer brush at home, which is the brush that I also use to apply my foundation before blending. So again, we're going back in with that rat tail comb. It works. Can't complain. I had to do what I had to do. And that sharp shape helped me to get the shape that I go with when I use my concealer brush. And where I'm applying foundation is just all the areas that I haven't applied other products. So around my mouth, underneath my cheekbone, my chin, of course. And that's pretty much it because we already got foundation on my forehead. And before I blend, I like to go ahead and apply my concealer underneath my eyes so that I can go ahead and dry down by the time I finish blending everything else out. And usually I go in with the Anastasia concealer in the shade 13 underneath my inner part of my under eye. But I want to switch it up a little bit. I use the shade 14 from Anastasia on the outer parts of my under eye and the Too Faced concealer on the inner parts of my under eye. And if you watch my last makeup tutorial, I explained why I spray my makeup brushes down with a little setting spray before I start blending. In my opinion, it prevents my brush from soaking up too much product if it was completely dry. I don't know how true that is, it just makes sense to me. And before I start dragging that foundation up over my bronzer and my blush, I like to go ahead and blend it in place for a little bit so I don't take away that coverage too much. And also so I don't cover my bronzer and my blush too much. I make sure whatever foundation I'm going over my bronzer and blush with is very sheer. Hence why I only go in with the excess foundation on the brush and from that area.
I'm switching my profile. All of my cars get delivered with no mouth. They think they do and we don't, I don't know how. Run through the low, call the plug, I need more pounds. I put on trip every day from the floor. I'm getting sick of this shit, post some more. Yeah, color and shouting, my driving ain't solid. I keep it on point, make sure nobody follow us. I got a Glock with.
And I can honestly say it's definitely time for me to invest into a darker foundation shade for the summertime, because in some lightings, my foundation is definitely a little too light, but because of my bronzer and my blush, it definitely evens it out. So you can make a slightly lighter foundation work, but I would prefer to just have my shade, or at least going with a slightly darker foundation on my forehead since I'm more bronzed. And on my forehead especially is why I love to do my makeup without a wig, because imagine trying to tap in all this foundation around lace. And if you know about wearing lace wigs, the last thing you want to do is apply excess makeup to your lace, because one, it's going to cause your install to not last as long. Two, your lace could get lighter, not darker. And three, the lace is just going to look really cakey in person. Oh yeah, and to avoid having to go in with the little fan and dry my concealer down, I blend my concealer last. That way it has enough time to dry down while I'm also blending the rest of my face. I'm not just sitting there not doing anything while I'm waiting for my concealer to dry. You know what I mean? That's why my makeup routine isn't that long. Well, it doesn't take that long, I should say. And because I wasn't able to go on my cream bronzer in the front of my eyebrows because I had concealer there at the time, I'm now going to do that since I blended the concealer out. Again, this just makes it for a smooth transition between your eyebrows, the concealer underneath your eyebrows, your eyeshadow, and your nose contour. And for a simple beat like this, I love to just go in with that bronzer shade all over my lid. And this is really good if you're not good at eyeshadow, because your bronzer shade is always going to be your perfect eyeshadow shade. Not to mention, it low-key matches the pigment on my eyelid naturally. Like this, I ain't do it on purpose. I'm working my move, nigga. Who for you working? I turned on my coupe, bought a coupe off of verses. I'm tired of these strippers. I'm pouring that nurses and doctors. Now to blend out my concealer, and always I'm going to spray my brush with a little setting spray just to dampen it up a little bit. And because I have two different shades of concealer, I don't want the rest of my under eye to be super bright, so I'm gonna blend out that darker shade of concealer first, as well as the edges of my concealer. Then I'm gonna go in and blend directly underneath my eye since it's brighter. I want to concentrate that brightness directly underneath the inner parts of my under eye. And if you haven't gotten the point already, tap to blend your makeup. Do not swipe that product around. That's how you're going to end up with streaks and splotchy patches in your makeup, and that's the last thing you want, especially if you have somewhere to go. And I did apply a little concealer underneath my nose, but I don't like that area to be too bright, so I'm more so just going with the excess on my brush from blending my under eye under my nose. And just a tip, if your concealer gets a little too dry down to where it's hard to blend, just lightly spritz your face with a little setting spray, as well as spray your brush with a little setting spray as well. But don't make it wet. It just needs to be damp. And notice how I'm slowly working my way towards the inner parts of my under eye where the most product is. I'm not just going straight in, taking all that product all over my face, because there's a lot of product right there. And with this concealer, I'm not going too far from underneath my under eye, because again, I don't want my whole under eye to be super bright. That would defeat the whole entire purpose of using a darker shade on the outer parts. Now, usually after I apply liquid blush before my concealer, I don't go back in with more, but I wanted a super pinky look today, so I went back in with a tiny bit of the Juvia's Place liquid blush. I only like to go super duper duper heavy with blush if I have on heavy lashes, but because I'm doing a no lash look, just a natural mascara look, I didn't want to do too much with the blush, at least not today, so don't get too excited because the heavy blush is still my look. And here I'm just re-emphasizing the bronzer that I got lost under my concealer, as well as diffusing those harsh lines on the side of my nose from the concealer. And to do that, all I'm doing is tapping the excess cream bronzer on my brush on the sides of my nose. No new product. This is how you're going to get that seamless blend, and I did the same thing for my liquid blush brush as well. And because I didn't directly go on my forehead with a little cream bronzer, I'm going to take whatever is left on my brush and tap it along the outer parts of my forehead. Now that the face is all blended, it is time to go in with our powder and set it down. Before I even touch the rest of my face with powder, I love to set my under eye first. And to do that, I'm using a One Size Ultra Pink powder. On me, this powder isn't super duper pink. It's more of a translucent powder, at least on my skin tone. And I will say, always reblend your under eye before setting with powder, and make sure you're looking up so that way you don't have any creases once you set. Now, you may have the natural creases of your under eye, but you don't want any additional creases from you not reblending those creases out before setting. Now that the under eyes are set, I'm taking the remaining powder on my powder puff and slightly tapping along the rest of my face. And of course, if I need more, I'm going to dip back into my powder and make sure I even it out on my hand, meaning I'm tapping the powder puff with the powder on the palm of my hand to even the layer out. That's the one thing I try to avoid when setting my makeup. The last thing I want is to go in with a super thick and uneven layer of powder on my powder puff and try to set wet products, because going in with that much powder on a wet surface is going to make it hard to dust the excess away. That's why it's really important when you pick up powder with your powder puff, always tap the excess off on the palm of your hand. That way everything is even. And there's no way you thought we were done here. We definitely got to bring some color back to the face, especially because we just went in with powder, foundation, so some things got lost. And the key thing to remember is wherever you use a cream product or a liquid product, that's where you're going to go in with that powder version. For example, I used cream bronzer on my cheekbones, my jawline, my nose, and my forehead, so that's where I'm going to go in with the powder bronzer. And you don't even need a lot of makeup brushes. That same little brush that I used to cream contour my nose, I'm using it to apply my powder bronzer to my nose. And also, don't forget to go back in the front of your eyebrow with that powder bronzer as well. So when adding powder products, you pretty much already have it mapped out, thanks to the liquid and cream version of those products. And now for my favorite part, powder blush. I'm using the Juvia's Place Volume 4 palette. I do love to mix that hot pink and that light pink for my perfect shade. And like I just said, since we already went in with cream and liquid versions of these powder products, we already have our placement mapped out. And to get that seamless airbrush look when applying my powder blush, I do like to swirl my blush when applying it. And again, I'm just following where I put my liquid blush beforehand. And remember, I mentioned using the blush on my temples as well. This is what I meant. Literally just connecting that blush from the outer parts of my under eye up to my temple. Is this necessary? No, but this is just how I like to do my makeup when I don't have on lashes or a wig. Could you honestly be done here? Yeah, but I like to go in and add a little structure to my makeup. And that's why I bake. I went in with the Revolution Translucent powder and the One Size Ultra Pink powder, just so I can get the brightness that I want, but that subtle pink in the One Size powder is going to tone it down just a little bit. And to help you better understand my placement when baking, I bake on the lighter parts of my face. So underneath my eyes, the sides of my nose, and under my cheekbones. I don't like to bake and cover up my blush and my bronzer. That would defeat all the work that I just put in. I just like to shape it up and add some structure. And if you ain't hip to this tip, let me put you on. I always do my mascara while I am baking. Just hear me out. Listen to my logic. When you're baking your face with an excess amount of powder, you're bound to get a little powder on your lashes. And with the powder on my lashes, I like to think of that as my lash primer or a foundation for my mascara. And I was playing around one day and I ended up finding the perfect mascara routine for my natural lashes. My natural lashes are aren't crazy long or anything. So I do like to go in with the Thrive Liquid Lash Extensions as my first mascara. This mascara in particular is a tubing mascara, so it's going to add some extra length to your lashes for real, for real. And as you can see, I'm not applying just 1 or 2 layers. How I really get the voluminous, almost cluster lash looking mascara is to go in with hella layers. And yes, I know how to get it off without ruining my lashes. All you do is go in with the Anua cleansing oil, rub it all over your eyes, go in with a little water, and it literally melts off. While my mascara is still semi-wet, I'm going in with the Fenty Beauty Hella Thick Mascara. Now this is going to add some volume to my lashes. This mascara has the consistency of cake icing. I just love this mascara so freaking much. This is my second bottle. I literally finished my other bottle to the point it was barely coming out. I'm talking the tube was dry. I had it for over a year. I was using it until I couldn't no more. So the Thrive Liquid Lash Extensions mascara is to add length, and the Fenty Beauty Hella Thick mascara is to add some volume. And once again, I didn't get this look by going in with no 1 or 2 layers. I went in with several layers of mascara. Do you have to go in with this many layers? No, you do not. To each their own, but I love me a thick, clumpy lash look. And also because the no lash extensions is literally the focus of this makeup routine. Now, of course, with all the mascara layers, I did get some mascara on the top of my eyelid. Instead of going in and wiping that off, to add a little more definition to my eyes, I'm going in with that Fenty Beauty eyeliner. Now, this pencil is so dang on creamy. When I tell you, it literally glides on like nothing. I'm just drawing a little line right above my lash line. This is just going to cover up the mascara that I got on the top of my eyelid, add a bit more darkness and definition to my lashes. And what I love about this eyeliner is on the other side of it, it has a smudger tool. Like, come on now, instead of trying to struggle to look around and find a Q-tip, I got a smudger right on the other end of my eyeliner. And I'm literally just smudging the eyeliner out. That's it. No particular way. It's not super neat. I just want to add a bit more definition and cover up that excess mascara. Eyes are done, and now it is time for the lip combo. I like to go ahead and do my lip combo as well while I'm baking, just because I love how dry my lips be when I'm baking compared to if I was to spray my whole face with setting spray. Plus, a dry base makes for a super smooth, buttery, and pigmented lip liner application. By the way, I am using the Chanel Selection Kissable Lip Liner. I got hoes by the crew trying to do me. My life like a movie, get hit in the water. Don't got put in no work, I in order. This shit ain't got serious, the millions come plural. I'm living by more, we swiping and keeping no door. This floor, I'm young and I'm turned, I got pictures galore. Once it's all applied, I'm going in with the Dreamy Lip Gloss from Chanel Selection as well. She is a soft baby pink, literally the perfect mix between a nude gloss and a pink gloss. And as you can see, she definitely holds some pigment. You could stop here, but I do like to match my lip combo to my blush, so I'm going in with the Heartstruck Lip Gloss from Chanel Selection as well, directly in the center of that Dreamy Gloss. It just gives it that pink ombre effect when I go in with the hotter pink in the center. And also, if you did not know, Chanel Selection is literally my brand. Mascara routine done, lip combo done. So now it's literally time to finish everything up. I'm just lightly dusting away that baking powder, and that's what I love most about the one size powder formula. Once I dust it away, it does not leave no overly harsh and ashy lines on my face. So the pink pigment may not be there on my skin tone, but that formula is everything. And although I don't have no natural face molds, I do like to go ahead and add my 2 signature molds. I just can't get over it. This placement is everything. It's so freaking cute. I love a good face mold, especially by the lip. Oh yeah, and by the way, I did take the recommendation of getting a doobie net. Since I'm spraying my face down, I did want to keep my hair as flat as I could be. I should have went in with a bonnet since there's holes in the net, but it did what it needed to. For my first setting spray, I'm going out with the Makeup Mario just to wet up all the powders. For the setting spray that's actually going to lock in that makeup, I'm going in with the Morphe setting spray. What really has me hooked on this setting spray is the fact that it comes out as a fine mist. It does not burn my nose, and when I open my eye directly after spraying it, it does not burn my eye. And it's a continuous setting spray. It's a continuous fine mist. I love it so much, and it smells amazing. In here, since I just wet my face up, I am going to touch up my mascara a little bit just so it don't look weighed down and wet. And if it's the one product I can gladly say I'm glad I fell for the hype, it's the Fenty diamond bomb. And what made me get this highlighter is the fact that it looks like glitter. Because before, you could not catch me or pay me to wear a highlighter. Because it looks like glitter and I love glitter, that's why I got it. And just like that, the beat is done. Not too much different than my regular makeup routine, but this is how I complete my no lash makeup look. By the way, the jacket that I am wearing is a set from my brand Chanel Selection. She is a capri and crop jacket set. She has not launched as of right now, but I did want to give you a heads up. So yeah, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you come back for more.